Christmas, the festive season, and the end of the year as a whole are arguably the most special times of the year. Most of these can be drowned out either by greedy money people or your extended family, but even all that doesn't stop it from being one of humanity's most precious assets. We most instinctively understand the need to put aside all differences and act with the core humanity and warmth that we often lack during the rest of the year. Some of you may have better memories of Christmas as a kid than others, but I think for most of us it was a memorable time in one way or another. Being the time of gifts, I think most people have that one memorable present that they really wanted, or hell, maybe weren't even expecting. Personally, as a kid, and even today, I have never received much. So most of the stuff I got when young came from other family members, such as my uncle, who kinda looks like Seth Everman. So I will now show a picture of Seth Everman. Disclaimer, my uncle is not Seth Everman. Anyway, there is one particular gift out of these that I have quite fond memories of trying out for the first time. I believe this was a gift intended as a gift for my grandmother, but it is one of the most important things I have ever put my hands on. Thanks to this gift, which came along with an original Nintendo DS, I got into Nintendo. I love Nintendo thanks to this very moment. Surely, without this, I may have never enjoyed their games and, by extension, possibly never been who I am today. And the thing is, this gift, this one game, was the amazing, world-known title known as well, Touch Generations. It's a series, a saga, a group, a brand added to a list of games intended for a more casual experience as opposed to the general audience with no real principles, having completely different labeling bases and marketing in each region, and that added nothing to the games other than a logo on the case. Come on, stop pretending you don't know what this is. The Touch Generations brand was applied, basically, to games that your grandma would get. Basically, in a very undeviating sense. There wasn't a qualifier for what marked a Touch Generations title, but the brand is mostly known for many of the games that form part of it. I swear you have no idea how embarrassing it is to explain to people that instead of playing the new Legend of Zelda, I am busy drawing kanji on my DS. I'll probably continue to do it though, this shit slaps! The brand was only applied on the Nintendo DS and the Wii, although plenty of series are still having games released. And that is because, more so than the brand, these games had so much energy. But we have to keep in mind, again, that these can very much range from cutesy little pastimes and some of the most well-feeling and fun games to the economy. There is a lot of personality on every single one of these. Like, come on! A real-life cooking guide, a shoulder practice game, an English training game, an intuitive sports collection, fun table games from all around the world you can play online, a trainer to help you get really fast at math, a pet simulator, a tool to very comfortably get you into art, a point-and-click mystery adventure game of a girl whose mother was murdered. A dictionary? Yes, the consistency was quite bizarre, to say the least. I simply can't think of what exactly was required to have the logo appear in the corner of a game, like, to begin with. I feel like a lot of games like Professor Layton, Rooms the Main Building, Tomodachi Collection, Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise, any bleeding Mario Party game definitely deserved this branding more than other games. Like, sure, I'm not gonna pretend the story from some like Ace Attorney is gonna make sense to your grandpa, but hey, now that no one's looking, between you and me, we're not gonna pretend Electroplankton made sense either. Alright, good. Now, the most popular section of the brand is definitely the training games. Games that claimed to improve your capabilities and skills while holding onto the fun aspect that made them still be video games. Sure, you might find some weird people out there who shit like this with a straight face, but I'd rather do it on my DS with some banger music. There were some training games on the Wii, although most of them were on the Nintendo DS. Sure, we can consider the Wii Fitness Test on Wii Sports as a daily training sort of thing, and other games such as Wii Fit Plus or Minna no Yoshikiraku Terebi totally followed on the DS style of content. This reminds me, by the way, kinda off topic I know, but there's this copy of Big Brain Academy for Wii at my city's local CX retailer that has been there for like half a year. Someone, please just buy it already, I'm begging you. But indeed, the training style was a bomb on the Nintendo DS. Some people consider it a series of utilities or tools rather than video games. And I kinda get that. I mean, Art Academy didn't even have a PEGI H rating. Though to me, most of these are definitely video games. Because, riddle me this, liberals, do you think I would play Professor Kageyama's maths training the 100-cell calculation method if it wasn't because of how satisfying this is? No, it's maths. I wouldn't. But these guys, they just get us. Take for example, sights training, or as they call it down here, training for your eyes. Come on, what's the word sights that are hard? Why couldn't they just give it a name in each of the local languages like they did with French and German? Anyway, this game, I don't think it trains your eyes that much. Like, sure, the game's about relaxation and whatnot might, but I feel like the main games work on your focus more than anything. But it's a fun little minigame collection, like, you've got sports here, it's so cool. I just don't quite understand why the crowd goes wild every time I touch this guy's gloves quickly. But one thing's for sure, something very recurring in these games is the H factor, representing your H as a particular skill, although in reality being just a score, with the best being 20. The brain H, you may call it, because all of this, the style, the concept, the gameplay, came from one game. The game we will talk about today, and that is...
A what now?
Where the hell are you, Kawashima?
I fucking love Sudoku.
Brain age?
Yeah.
This thing said my brain age is 25. I'm not old.
Man, I can't wait to not play Sudoku. This game is dog shit.
9.
Stamp.
So bored.
I guess Mario 64 really is personalized.
How do I do this? I can't even pick up the stylus.
An alternative ending to the French Revolution, presumably. Dr. Kawashima's brain training, How Old Is Your Brain? Known in America as Brain Age, Train Your Brain in Minutes a Day, and in Japan as No Kitaru Tonano Diyasu Training, is a puzzle game released in May 2005, filled to the brim with exercises and minigames that train your brain. So I'm finding out a lot of people genuinely believe this game made them smarter or something. And okay, I understand that. This is why there have been a lot of efforts as of lately to prevent companies from making these claims and people from buying something they may not need. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's just me, but as a kid, I never really thought it was gonna make you smart. Because if you do want to feel smart, you can just read anything remotely related to politics on Twitter for 10 minutes. Instead, I always thought brain training was made to just help keep you on your toes. And that's exactly what it's set out to do. You get to do maths every day. Isn't it a furious advertising campaign, which is why this game was made, to turn it into something genuinely fun, making you want to get better than family and friends and even yourself through its score and brainage systems. And sure enough, it worked out. So, for a little background here, brain training was devised by this guy. Well, the real-life version of him. Even though Dr. Kawashima is definitely a mascot Nintendo would go on to use for the whole series, this guy is actually real. Ryuta Kawashima is a neuroscientist with a doctorate from Tohoku University in the city of Sendai in Miyagi Prefecture, Japan. He conducted numerous studies into brain function with the aim of preventing Alzheimer's disease and improving mental functions and learning abilities in the elderly, as well as maintaining and developing them in adults and children as a whole. To do all of this, he devised a series of simple exercises, such as reading aloud or doing simple calculations continuously, which, according to his theory, can train the brain in the same way you train for a race or to speak a language, for example. He was responsible for a series of books and devices that put this theory into practice. And after then President of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, saw some potential in this, it will all culminate in the release of the first brain training game for the Nintendo DS. Then, he reinvested the monetary profits from all his products back into his research. This is ingenious, and sure, by coming up with it, he may have inadvertently opened Pandora's box of talk shit. But still, I think that's pretty damn cool. Although still, I will be real with this man where I ought to be, because do this or you'll become stupid has always been at the core of his marketing, and yeah, I get it. But enough chit chat, let's try this blatant brain training already. The game uses the figure of Kawashima as your personal trainer, in the form of a disembodied floating head, but don't worry about it. They give him so much personality, and this thing will tease you if you don't play every single blatant day. Upon first startup, we're giving a lecture about this polygonal creature, leading up to our first brain age test. The brain age test is a test made to be done on a day-to-day basis, which will give you a brain age at the end. Now, I do understand Kawashima's intention was to set 20 as the target brain age, as he mentioned in a speech at the University of Reading.
However, the function of the prefrontal cortex declines with age after age 20. Its decrement is linear. So which means that almost all of you already declined prefrontal cortex.
But I really don't think the age used by other games such as sight training has got anything to do with my prefrontal cortex, so I guess the concept just kinda stayed around. Next, he will ask you if you can talk out loud because someone out there tried to play brain train at a party. He quickly shits on people who don't speak one of the 5 other languages natively, and we quickly come to the first problem of brain training. This man hates the color blue.
Blue. Blue. Blue. Blue.
Blue. Blue. Papier. 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 Black. What? Black. 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 Blue. 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 Blue.
Well, this is stupid. I quit it.
And the worst of all, the alternative is... oh no. See, this is the heart of it. The maths. I have always sucked at maths. Throughout my years, it's always been that one subject I always sucked at. Don't take it the wrong way if you like maths. I do too. But I've just always been rubbish at it. I'm a linguistics girl out here, alright. But even then as a kid, I always spent so long trying to get that bleeding, perfect brain age of 20, thinking of several strategies to write out the numbers faster, or just get better at it. And by doing that, the game was training me. It's truly ingenious. It's wonderful. You know what isn't? The fact that I could never do it. Sure, I was better than my entire family's 80. But like, come on, I wanted 20. And no, I don't care. The first one is 20 simple calculations, nothing crazy, and we're graded with a speed ranging from you dumb, fucking stupid peasant swan to the next one is the same thing, but there's 100 of them now, you know, in case you're mentally insane or something of the sort. It really does get tired after a while. Just, Dr. Kawashima, I need you to tell me what your problem is with my force. Following up is reading aloud. The one where you read out loud. It's just public domain books, nothing crazy, but if you are the craziest hyper-fast reader on the planet, he will get pissed at you. Then comes low to high, where numbers will be briefly shown and then disappear, and you must select them from lowest to highest. It's a lot of fun, but much harder than it looks. It will take you up a level if you get it right, and if you mess up, it will bring you down one. But thankfully, what matters at the end isn't the level you were at when the game finishes, rather the highest you've achieved, because otherwise I would have been royally fucked here. Next up is syllable count. One more fuck you to players who are not English native. As the name suggests, you just count the syllables in a bunch of sentences. It's got to be the simplest game in the whole pack here, but curiously, it's the hardest one to get fast at. Like, yeah, it's just counting syllables, but for the life of me, I cannot get faster at this. But the worst is yet to come. The house. The bloody house. You are shown a house where people come in and out, then you've got to keep track of that and say how many are inside the house at the end. It's a true focus exercise. You need to be able to add and subtract quickly, and it gets tougher when people come in and leave at the same time. No matter how many strategies you come up with, it will always involve doing a mathematical operation over another one. I will never understand this though. What is going on in this house? Is this the rapture, an alien adoption? Are we being pranked? What is this man scheming? Or could it be Santa Claus is coming? Denier scoping right now. Well, probably nothing good, because the next exercise is literally math, but a crack. But just a bit. Not as crack as what we will get to later on. For being just the first game, they really made sure to make this thing super replayable. There are so many activities just here, and most of them are super simple and silly, but memorable. I have so many memories of making silly chant lyrics and stories to memorize the words on this one too, and all of this is truly just training your brain. There's so many options too. You can edit the stamp, you can review all the tips he gives you. And at the beginning of many playthroughs, he might randomly ask you to say something like what you ate on a day to see if you remember several days later. Or to draw something, then completely shame yourself when he shows you his pixel perfect shaded version, making you want to make your life come to an end, unless you're me and spend 4 entire minutes drawing Moai status. Brain training was truly great for you as much as it was for your grandma. We'll get to the taxes in a sec. Now, only a few months later in Japan, but a whole year after here in Europe, was the release of more Brain Training, a sequel to the original game. This game follows the style of the original, but now with all new games. The max exercise here doesn't ask you for the answer, rather the missing symbol, which is still tricky, but far more enjoyable. But it's followed by my favorite, Masterpiece Recital. You get to play piano on the Nintendo DS. Insane! Even though it's just a single octave of a piano, it's still pretty fun, and I wish they made a mode where you can just freely play any song you want, or even made a piano peripheral like Bandai Namco did for Easy Piano. Either way, the songs here are alright. They're not the newest rockin' tunes out here, but they are pretty simplified and even enough to get someone interested in picking up learning piano. In fact, if you feel spicy, there's a harder difficulty where it only shows you the stave, so have fun if you can with music. The next is Word Scramble, which has got to be the simplest but hardest exercise yet. Every time I say this, I feel stupid. I'm dyslexic, bear with me here. The objective is to reorder the word from the scrolling letters. Originally, on the Japanese version, you had to write the kanji, but they took some liberties with the localization. It might seem extremely simple, but seriously, sometimes it's just impossible. You'll always end up feeling like an idiot when you finally figure it out though. Once again, another fuck you for non-English natives. Thank you, Nintendo. If it really sucks since you're being timed, it may be worth it to select the pass button, which takes you to the next one at the cost of 20 seconds. This may seem really cruel, but worth it if you think you are taking so long, until you are little Luna and realize that since the handwriting recognition is so mediocre, spamming the pass button from the very beginning may end up being overall faster. Next up is the Britain jump scare, nothing much, just your average change minigame. And the next has to be the worst minigame in the entire series. And I will fight for this, with yet again another fuck you to non-natives. The game will say a word through the shitty speaker of the DS, and you need to write it out. It may sound super easy, but it truly becomes hell when there's several of them at once. Other minigames include even more devilish foreshadowing. Being this man's calendar, goodness gracious, I hope the DS's clock is correct. The world's most unqualified runner, what about the love and fuck this is? And my favorite, a minigame of Dr. Germ Buster. Like the Weaver game. I've always wanted this button in my life, but I'd yet to find it. Thank you, Kawashima. I have so many memories of this game mode. Being able to drag the falling pills around gives for so much creativity with your plays, and see Kawashima's reaction when you get 3 or even 4 in a row is amazing. Also, the music here, super creative, never heard of before. However, something that kept distressing me as a kid was messing up and having to restart all the way from the beginning. This one man is behind so many of my traumas, I swear. Oh, yeah, and the symbols game. I always love this one, it's amazing. Though they turned the words game into numbers now. This sucks, how am I supposed to do this now? Oh, right, like this. Gotcha. Now, the series got so popular that these 2 games alone sold a total of nearly 34 million copies, earning their rank as the 4th and 7th best-selling games for Nintendo DS. You may think it was the advertising or whatever, but I'm here to tell you that English training overtook Professor Layton and Pandora's Box, and the side training beat bloody rhythm parties, so take it with a grain of salt if you will. But the next game in the series is one less people know about. So, DSiWare, that was the thing. You know, you could download games from the Nintendo DSi shop, and Brain Training had no one, not 2, but 3 whole DSiWare games based off their odds, mods, and Sudokus, all of these mostly released in 2009. It was also the first time the series came out in China, so that's that. These games were part of the A Little Bit Off brand, indicating games that are a reduced or different version of released full DS titles. However, these were much more than that, as they included completely different exercises and even used a DSi camera. But careful there, because if all your DSi pictures are identical or similar, you may have a little trouble with this one here. Now, as a kid, we didn't have internet for the longest time, no until around 2011, but I have fond memories of this game because it was pre-installed with our DSi, the Arts Edition to be precise. I do remember going through the different themes and comparing my results with those of my friends and family through the album, and I guess we can attribute the reason I'm a VA now to this minigame. I also love the slight variations in the music between all of these, like it really shows how much they could. And speaking of music, the piano minigame here also has... Oh no... Now, something that's pretty cool about this version is that if you reach the perfect brain age of 20, you unlock the so-called challenge mode, which... If I had seen this when I was young, I would have shat myself right then, right there. This is a series of bleeding hard challenges of the different exercises. If you succeed, you will go up a level. But if you don't, you will not be allowed to try again until it's the following day. Now this game is the utmost textbook definition of bullshit, but I just love how much personality it has. But speaking of weird alter egos and personalities, we now move on to the Nintendo 3DS with Devilish Brain Training, or as I like to call it, the visual definition of oh shit. Now, before talking about this game, you need to know something that is still mind-boggling to me. This game was released in 2012 in Japan, then 2013 in America, and in Europe, nothing. There were just no news of it. You know, maybe they just decided the game wasn't going to come out in Europe and Oceania, which has happened with some games before, such as Mario Super Sluggas or Earthbound. But it was strange still for two reasons. One being that the game came out in every single other region, including Korea and Taiwan, with even support for the Chinese IQ3DS. The second being that they literally showed the game on a Nintendo Direct, and that sure as hell was the EU version, so it existed. It had a release date of 8th March 2013, and I remember telling my grandma, "They get the brain training man fucking hard!" But it was delayed over and over until, well, the EU version is just lost media, I guess. That was until all the way to 2017. 5 years exactly from the original release date for us to see this game. But hey, it was worth it. It was great to finally see this game here. And the way they announced it was really cute, I must admit.
A devilish return.
You got 79% correct. Dr. Kawashima's devilish brain training. Can you stay focused?
So now that our delayed rights are here, it's time to check out
Devilish brain training. Can you stay focused?
Oh boo! We've seen this man speak perfect English, come on, really? I would have loved to hear the man himself. Yes, I know the Japanese version uses a voice actor as well, but like really? Are the real Ryuta Kawashima and this polygonal creature different entities? I think we're onto something.
Smartphones, tablet computers and laptops. A world of information at your fingertips. How convenient. Or so you might think. However, don't be fooled. Thanks to these convenient contraptions, we have lost our ability to focus.
Really? Oh, much better. Now I can stay focused. Thanks, Kawashima.
Information isn't solely to blame. The world is full of distractions, and they're only growing in number. But fear not. In an effort to cure the epidemic of low concentration spans, I have developed some brand new training exercises. I call them Devilish Training. So what are we waiting for?
Alright, look. It's not what you think. Devilish Training, the new series of exercises brought in this game, is made all around punishing the loving shite out of you. If you dare have this thing with the intention of improving your working memory. Okay, fine. The activity contains a series of tests based around you giving the answer to a previous problem while memorizing the new one, with higher levels increasing the desync of answer new question until it becomes genuinely unbearable, truly putting your focus to work hard.
Sounds pretty tough, huh? What? You don't think so? But it is tough. This is where I summon my inner monster and make life devilishly difficult for you. Are you prepared for what's coming? That's the spirit.
I'm giving this man money.
Right then.
And let me tell you, this thing is hard.
That's the stuff.
Hard. It's so hard to understand, but it really puts your focus to the max. You need to memorize this stuff in your head and kind of cycle through it. You really feel that no fuck in your head the moment you stop focusing and your mind goes into something else just for a split second. It's really punishing. But hey, that's why it works. Now, the level of difficulty is adjusted to how good or how shy you're at it. So the challenge rolls that way. It's fine if you suck complete ass, but the idea is that once you reach your level, you try to hold on to it. Or alternatively, you can turn into a task and get to 99 back.
Last one. Perfect. You got 100% correct. Oh, look at the time. You might have gone a bit overboard there.
The game is all oriented towards improving the working memory. That is, your brain retaining information for a bit in order to be able to use it. It includes the training supplements made to speed up your working memory in the same as the traditional high score style, and the traditional proving to yourself you're a fucking moron is still here. The number recognition is a little better, and I couldn't tell you how, but writing feels nicer. And that's the main brain training activities, with new games. Some are pretty fun, some are this fucking thing, some are masterpiece recital, many returning game modes, many new, and the best of all, this time, they've got the European anthem, of course, goddamn, yes! 5 years well deserved for this. There's also timeout, which allows you to listen to the whole soundtrack playing the traditional Germ buster, and now includes a game based on Wario's Blubber Blast. Now, say what you will about its difficulty, and probably be right. But if you let me focus more on the main exercises, I'd say this is my favorite brain training game. You've seen me show it all over the place, and I do feel like I was missing out by not getting to play it when I was younger due to the delayed release date, but even then, with such a cute, less electronical soundtrack and so much personality, the doctor's showing you a whole bloody seminar every single day. Hell, even his whole news show. Move over, Fox, man. We've got a true contender in journalism here.
Welcome to Brain News.
And although this game is outdated and was definitely not suitable for a 2017 release, I feel like it targets a pretty big problem that is very much persistent today, being that of social media destroying our working memory abilities. That's why, even today, I'm thankful we have the polygonal talking man to save our asses against our will. Just look at this pro.
Naturally, being a brain training researcher, I'm a bit of an expert on working memory. Ah!
Oh, yeah. And you can do this. The years passed by, and as the Nintendo Switch released, to me at least, it felt like Nintendo was trying to abandon the Wii and the SNES era's kind of games. Sure, some of their games definitely felt inspired by the concept of many Wii series titles, but having been several years from the latest Brain Train release, despite several appearances, such as Smash as an assist trophy, or the StreetPass Me Plaza as a hat, and of course the speech at the University of Reading in 2016, it felt like the Brain Training series was now a thing of the past. Outside remaining solidly at the top of the Nintendo eShop rankings, because it's the game hacking guides told you to use for an X-Play back then, thank you for reminding us for weeks straight, AK Family Home, Ryuta Kawashima had truly sparked a whole new concept for years and years, but it was truly over for this series, as the Switch had moved on from the stylus into a brand new audio. A new Brain Training in Japan for a Switch, and that's a stylus! You fools think the stylus game with Mario Maker 2, nope, this was it! This came earlier. This had so many cool new games and even some multiplayer ones. Wow, it's so back! Only in Japan though. Oh, okay, my run was saved! So, new Brain Training, New Year's, what would be the worst year of our lives? Cool, not bad. I sure hope there is a minigame that uses the IR sensor. Fuck, I love life. Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training for Nintendo Switch, released on the 27th of December 2019, coming out here on the 3rd of January 2020. And to this day, as of recording, it's still not out in America. God, how often does this shit happen? I mean, it's not too bad, because the Switch is region-free, so you can just create a Japanese or European account and buy it that way. In fact, I do remember getting a comment from some American viewer being genuinely astounded that Nintendo would release a game in English only for Japan. Only for Japan! But still, I can't help but wonder, why, like, it's now been 4 years since release, so it hasn't quite been as long as the Ballista here in Europe, but I don't know. Maybe the US tracking down on Brain Training games may have something to do with it, but like, come on, this is the original one. This is the father of all. What are you on? In any case, this game is mostly made to be played vertically and handheld, because God forbid some things change. But you are able to play the quick play minigames either with friends or with your eternal solitude and spiral of madness. Some of these are pretty silly. It's nothing special, but it's great to have. I just could pull off my Switch and only playing with a classmate whenever we finish work early and have some fun for 5 quick minutes. Damn you, Nintendo, you did it again. But the real meat of it is the daily training, which sure includes Doku. Here we have the different game modes. There's the usual training, the usual PTSD, the usual brain check, and added here an update, the Brain Training World Championship. To start off with the training, we get the same usual games, but now with stock pictures. There aren't really any new ones, they just recycle them from past games, and understandably so. Some of these use the IR sensor, and there are a couple new ones, such as Dual Task, which is surprisingly fun and tests your concentration. It's also really fun to see how well friends on your friends list did, much like on the original game, but now also through the internet. Reading no longer tells you off for being too quick, and Masterpiece Recital is back, and it feels much nicer with your fingers, honestly. And yes, it does have. Now, this version of the game, if you'd like to buy a brain training game, while I prefer Devilish, I'd say this is definitely the definitive version. The menus are so comfy, it almost feels like a mobile app. It's also pretty cheap, and it's fun to come back to each day as much as it always was. Something I really like about this version of the game is that the menu music progresses as you do more exercises. Take a listen. the best part, if you manage to get a brain age of 20, which is quite hard here, you get a really nice reward as your menu music. Oh yeah, bitch, we're back! The working memory challenge is just the same as the one from Devilish, but the coolest thing is the Brain Training Championship. Every Saturday, you can play training activities and send them in, and then see how high you place on the world's leaderboard. I love this because it's always all Japanese people, and then the highest spot is an European flag. I couldn't tell you why, really. I've also seen a couple US and Canada flags in here, which shows that people that are getting the game too. Come on, Nintendo. It also seems that this guy was well informed about the war that was going on. I don't know if they were doing it on purpose, but it's adorable nonetheless. Oh, and the best part of the game. Bless you, man. Bless you. So, with that out of the way, we are done. As of recording, those are all of the brain training games ever released. What? So yes, Dr. Kawashima's Body and Brain Exercises was a game released by Namco in 2010 for the Xbox 360. Not only our friend here got a body and more polygons, but also a light bulb. Now, this game I had heard about before, but I couldn't really find much about it. That's why I'd like to thank my good friend Ryan for getting it and checking it out. The game uses the Kinect camera device and thus controls by simply moving the body around. So, in a way, it's not just brain training, but also exercise. Although some of the minigames on it do feel familiar, most of this game is not quite like the rest of brain training games. And the minigames remind me a lot of those from Wii Fit, such as this one being very similar to Tail City, and this one feeling like the peripheral vision test. Oh, look, even YouTube agrees with me. But still, I think it's a cute little thing, and might still be fun for someone who liked the DS games at the time. So, I felt it was important to mention it too. I don't know what else to tell you though. So, that's it. That's all the attention I'm going to give this man. Now, I hate to say that I grew up with this man instead of something more core gaming, more than anything, because now if you throw me a probably better video game, I don't know, I will never understand my arch nemesis, but I will give my arch nemesis Simplified a try. This sort of games have got so much hate for being more so applications, but I beg to differ. Not only these games introduce so many people into gaming that would have otherwise forever seen it as an alien thing, but generally, these games have so much care put into them that most people refuse to give attention to just because it's a brain training game. Personally, I've always had a close bond with this little beheaded man here. I never cared about getting smart or whatever the hell the selling point may be. It was just fun to play some minigames and see how fast I can get at it. It gave me a purpose. I think this feeling of coming back every single day and trying to beat my high score at something like, okay, it's no different from 100%ing an RPG video game, simply targeted at a different audience. I get that the average hardcore player wants these games dumped in a fire, but I think it's important to give some love to these games too, even if they're not your cup of tea. And although I played some joke annoyance earlier at the beginning at this game for being the best thing I ever got as a gift, it made me really happy. At the end of the day, it's a game I can share with so many people. Like, come on, I even had a maths teacher who didn't like me much because I was bad at maths, and she saw me playing the Switch version in class and said, "Oh wow, that's the brain training thing, I remember that." And she liked me a little more ever since, which I think was just adorable. I'm sure many of you have stories like this with the Touch Generation series as much as you do with Wii Sports and other games like that. And yet, these games don't get as much talk. And I'd like to change that. There's been a lot of recognition from stuff such as the AGDQ tasks that run that I'm sure most of you have seen. And I don't know, it's seen things like this person spending 18 hours to do all Sudoku puzzles that makes me very happy. A lot of games from the Third Generation series are masterpieces, and I need people to figure this out and start talking about them already. It's really great that many of these games are still having sequels released on the Switch nowadays, despite the system's more dual nature of standard classic gaming. But I hope this continues on future consoles. We'll get to the SP multi-threading one day, I swear. But until then...
Merry Christmas!
Yes, I know, it's almost February. Shut up. I did my best. My throat is dead. Okay? I did my best. Shh.